This is our study on the effects of stereotype threat on female math performance done by Tanner Canova, Mary Hudson, Michaela Wilson, and Ryan Zika.
Stereotype threat on women's ability in math can induce females' underperformance in mathematics. Looking to further examine the effects of stereotype threat on women and math-associated activities, we developed an experiment to test the impact of gender math stereotypes. Participants were randomly placed into one of three conditions to take the math test. The first condition was known as the poster condition, where the women were surrounded by room decor, like posters, depicting stereotypical gender roles. In the second condition, known as the demographic condition, the women were asked gender-related demographic questions. And in the third and final condition, known as the control condition, all the participants were told to do was take the math test. Our results showed that women in the control group scored the highest on the math test. Participants in the poster condition scored lower than the control condition, but higher than the demographic condition. And finally, women in the demographic condition scored the lowest on the test. These findings indicate that the women feared confirming gender math stereotypes, and it significantly impacted their performance. While this specific study focuses on stereotype threat affecting female performance on math tests, we believe that this study more largely indicates that stereotype threat can take more forms than being directly reminded of one's gender. Whether it's a poster on the wall, as it was in this experiment, or the TV playing in the background, stereotype threat can be anywhere.
It is a commonly held stereotype that men are better at math than women. Stereotypes are widely held ideas about a group of people that are often incorrect. However, stereotypes can greatly influence people's behavior and social structures. For example, men tend to dominate math majors and math-intensive careers, and men often outperform women on tests of mathematical ability. These gender differences in math are augmented by negative stereotypes regarding gender and math performance. And because of that, women often succumb to stereotype threat during mathematical activities. Stereotype threat exists when a group affected by a negative stereotype fears their performance on a given activity will further confirm said stereotype. And because of that fear, their performance is undermined. The added pressure of judgment or the possibility of failure impedes their performance on the task at hand. Stereotype threat often occurs in situations where women are reminded of their gender. Kiefer and Sekaquaptewa conducted a widely used and popular study on the effects of stereotype threat on female math performance.
In this study, evidence for stereotype threat, specifically related to gender association with math tests for women, was found. Participants were given a math test consisting of 12 questions and were asked to solve as many questions as they could in those 10 minutes. In one condition, known as the diagnostic condition, which is a test of their abilities, and the other condition was known as the non-diagnostic condition. After the test, participants took multiple implicit association tests, known as IATs, which measured their implicit gender math stereotypes. It was found that even participants who expressed weak implicit gender math stereotypes performed significantly worse in the diagnostic condition. This study illustrates the powerful impact of stereotype threat on women's math performance. While other studies have been conducted to consider stereotype threat, some even looking specifically at the effects of stereotype threat on female math performance, our study aims to explore stereotype threat in a way that other studies have not yet considered. We are incorporating a condition in which participants will be exposed to room decor, such as posters that depict women in their stereotypical gender roles, while they are completing the short college-level math test. Previous studies have indicated that direct and explicit reminders of stereotype threat negatively impact performance, but it is less understood if subtle reminders of stereotype threat will have a significant effect on performance. We believe that this study represents that stereotype threat can take on more forms than just direct reminders. This brings us to our hypothesis. We believe that when tests are associated with gender, female math performance scores will be lower than when tests are not associated with gender. Participants who are in the control group will score the highest when compared to the poster and demographic groups. The participants in the poster groups will score higher than the participants in the demographic group, but lower than the participants in the control group. Participants in the demographic group will score lower than both the participants in the poster group and the control group.
In our study, a total of 60 female college students participated, ranging in age from 18 to 22. Participants were randomly assigned to one of 3 conditions measuring participants' math scores. In the first condition, participants were exposed to room decor, such as posters depicting women and men in stereotypical gender roles. Examples can be seen here. In the second condition, participants were required to complete several gender-related demographic questions, such as identifying as male or female before taking the test. In the final condition, participants were simply asked to complete the test to the best of their ability. There were no additional elements that could be associated with gender math stereotype. This served as our control condition. The same math test was used for all 3 conditions. The test replicated one previously used in a similar study, which was comprised of 12 multiple choice questions. At the end of the test, each participant's score was calculated based on the number of correct answers.
Consistent with our predictions, there were differences between the 3 groups' test scores. Participants within the control group scored higher than the participants in the poster and the demographic groups. Participants within the poster group scored higher than the participants in the demographic group, but lower than the participants in the control group. The demographic group participants scored the lowest overall.
This study shows that inducing stereotype on women during a math activity can significantly impact their performance on that activity. But we also believe that stereotype threat can significantly impact performance on more than just math and on more than just women. Examples of this include race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status. But most importantly, indirect stereotype threat can still impact your performance. Stereotype is everywhere around us, whether we realize it or not. One limitation of this study is that the sample does not significantly represent the population. Another limitation of this study is that racial stereotype threat was not taken into consideration. If future research is conducted, researchers should look at comparing math ability between races or ethnicities to test the significance of the effects of racial stereotype threat. Another study that could be conducted is to reduce the influence of gender by creating a gender-neutral environment by not identifying gender during the study. This will allow women an equal opportunity without being reminded of their gender, which can also help decrease stereotype threat. Removing stereotype threat before a basic math test can also help show more accurate results.